welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dani and this is Coffee Break with Dani. Before we get into our girl talk, girls night in, girl chat, advice, rant, confession video, number 9. I want to say it's number 9 already. Like what? Yeah. That's how many times we've hung out together and shared our secrets. I did want to say thank you to Juneshine for sponsoring this video. I actually need to have a delicious, yummy cocktail to enjoy with my pandas while we're doing this girl chat video, because as I was scrolling through your questions for this episode, I think we're all in the same stage in life right now. We are all under some duress, let me tell you. So this is really a fitting, appropriate introduction to an amazing spirit. Okay, so if you guys have been here for years, you know that we are fans of Juneshine. And I say we because all the adults in my family, when we come over, they do the pool time, Parker's brother, sister-in-law, Edema, our neighbor. So we're all fans of hard kombucha. Well, when Juneshine told me that they were secretly going to spring a canned cocktail on us, oh my God. They sent me this product to try before it launched, and I ran out of it before I needed some more to show it to you in this video, because it's that good. Okay, I've tried like the ranch waters and the this and the whatever that are like pre-canned, and I'm like, okay, this tastes pre-canned. This tastes like something that, you know, it tastes like, here's a perfect example. When you get a TV dinner or like a lean cuisine, it's edible, right? Because it is what it is. You didn't have to take out the pots and pans, and that you just literally had to open it, pierce it, put it in the microwave and eat it. So you go in thinking, I know I'm gonna eat and it's probably gonna be good, but it's not as good as if I did it on the stovetop myself, right? So when you try a canned cocktail or spirit, it's the same concept. You're like, I know it's gonna be okay and it's gonna do its job, but it's still gonna taste like a canned cocktail. Oh my goodness. The Juneshine canned cocktails or spirits are so, I'm sorry, but I don't think I like the kombucha anymore. Like, can I say that? I'm sorry, hard kombucha. But okay, so here's the thing. The biggest reason why Juneshine is important to me as a promoter or an influencer is that what they do, what the brand is about, what they say. For me, it's important to not only buy the product myself, drink the product myself, use the product myself, see if it's true, and see how it fits into my life and make sure that it makes sense. So when it comes to adult beverages, like that's something that Parker and I enjoy, and it's something that, you know, we do on the weekends and we do by the pool and we do with our family. And I mean, Edema will come over and we'll sit outside and just enjoy a little, maybe a margarita or two. And while we could just walk up to a grocery store and just pull something off the shelf, when you are actually supporting a brand that has no sugar added, that they use premium spirits, that they're using cleaner ingredients, the sugar is really only coming from natural fruit juices. So you feel a little bit better when you're indulging. You know what I mean? And how many times have you made that choice of picking the better for you choice and then it doesn't taste that good? So to be able to make the better for you choice with a really high ABV, if you don't know what that is, you probably don't want to find out because you're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be shocked when I tell you about these. So factoring that in, factoring the sugar, factoring the natural juices, factoring in all that stuff, then you're like, you know, I think I might be enjoying this a little bit more than I should. In a very fun, look, summer's around the corner. We're gonna be doing the barbecues and the pool parties and the stuff. And I don't have time to be taking out my leather apron and my mixology books and doing all that stuff. I suck at making cocktails. Okay, there it is. That's the truth. I suck at making cocktails. Ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody has time to be making cocktails, right? Am I right? Sophia knows. Sophia knows. She's like, no, man. Ain't nobody got time to be making cocktails. Hey, are you 21 and over? Because you can't be in this video. We're talking about alcohol right now. Can you be in this video? Do you want a margarita? Or do you want a Mai Tai? I'm not going to tell you which one's my favorite because then you're going to pick it and it will run out. We'll run out. I can't tell you which is Mama's favorite. It's a secret. Yeah, because then you'll steal it, put it in your backpack and go to your friend's house. I know what kind of teenager you are. Yeah, confess your crime. At least she's looking. Look at that. That's a first. Look at that. That's a first, saying hi to her pandas. So that's the truth, you guys. Like, with summer around the corner and entertaining and barbecues and graduations, holy mackerel, we have a graduation right around the corner. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not good at making, I know my limitations. I'm not good at making cocktails. I don't have the time to make cocktails. And I think even if I did do the Google and the research and pulled up a recipe, it wouldn't be the same as just opening your refrigerator door and pulling out a margarita. Like, what? So normally, like if you pull a drink like this off the shelf at a grocery store, they have 4 to 5 times more sugar than this product itself. So the June Shine Spirits. With these guys, you're coming in at about 5 grams of sugar, and there's about 2 shots of premium liquor in each one of these cans. Do you guys want to hear a funny story? Okay. So you guys remember the traumatizing time in my life when I was single and dating after divorce? And there were more bad memories than good ones. A really good memory, but with bad backlash that I went through, is I met a guy at a bar, and it was just gonna be happy hour. And I had this thing when I was on dates that I would let them order their beverage first just to see what kind of guy they were. And so this guy ordered a top shelf margarita. And I said, you know what's funny is, even though I'm Mexican and I grew up around margaritas, it was like what our family drank were margaritas or palomas. I've never ordered a top shelf margarita. And he's like, whoa, you are missing out on life. So when you order top shelf, it's like premium spirits. So they're gonna use a really good tequila. They're gonna use fresh lime juice. So everything is fresh, everything is top notch, high quality. So I got a top shelf margarita, and that was the good memory from that date that never had a second one. And the bad backlash of it was that now I can't have a regular margarita. Like I can, but you can taste the difference. And so it ruined margaritas for me. So when I had to volunteer to taste these before I agreed to talking to you guys about it, I was like, a margarita in a can, June Shine? Really? You can do better than holy mackerel. It tastes like a top shelf margarita. The only thing that I would say that would make this that much better, which is kind of me being ridiculously uppity and bouge-tastic, is pouring it into a glass with ice and salting the rim. So that's like an extra step, but why wouldn't you do that? I'm a fan of sodium. And obviously it wouldn't be a sponsored promotion without an amazing deal, and we only accept amazing panda deals around here, okay? So if you guys want to try this, it's not, this may or may not be my second box. It didn't make it in time for the video. Like for the production, it just did, whatever, okay? This is a 12 pack. You get 4 of each flavor, the rum Mai Tai, the vodka soda, and the tequila margarita. Now, each of these has a really wonderful flavor to it. The margarita is a classic one, so you're gonna get that like citrusy flavor, but the vodka soda and the rum Mai Tai will knock your socks off. So if you wanna try this multi-pack, or you decide you just want one flavor, 12 of one flavor, like a case, you will get 10% off the spirits using the code in the description box, and you will get free delivery if you order over $75. My absolute favorite, the one that I actually tried last because I didn't think I was gonna like it. I'm not a big vodka person, so I was like, vodka soda, but it's passion fruit. So it intrigued me. I opened it and I immediately, the smell came like gushing out of it. It smells a little bit like guava, or yeah, definitely passion fruit. It is absolutely wonderful, amazing, delicious. This one has the least amount of liquor in it, or spirits. So this has 1.5 shots of vodka. I don't know if it makes that big of a difference when you're already in the shots bracket, but it also has sparkling water, passion fruit, pineapple, and lemon. It is, I should probably pull out my Invisalign to be enjoying this beverage, but it is so yummy. It tastes like passion fruit, but if you're not familiar with passion fruit tastes a lot like yellow guavas. And that concludes this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna go enjoy my passion fruit vodka soda. What kind of panda would I be if I let you down that way? You know what I mean? All right, you guys, so we are gonna get started with this video. All the information for Juneshine Spirits will be listed in the description box of this video. Before I get into this video, there's always a disclaimer that I like to make in these advice videos. I am not a professional. I like to do these videos for fun because you guys request them and really enjoy watching them. I've always been told that I give good advice. I don't know if it's because I have a ton of life experiences and trauma in my short 37 years, long 37 years, or I've gone to therapy so much that I'm very self-aware and I can think things through a little bit differently or rationally versus when I was like 20. But it's a video that's just for fun. It's lighthearted. Oftentimes I will bring myself into the scenario to explain something to you. And it's not because it's self-indulgent or I like the sound of my own voice or I like to talk about myself. It's simply because it makes it more relatable. Consider this video like a buffet. You're going to a buffet and there's gonna be things at a buffet that you don't like. So you don't choose them. You don't listen to them. You're gonna go to a buffet and there's going to be things that you love and you crowd your plate on so you can listen to it and you will definitely enjoy it. And there's other things that are gonna be like, oh, I never thought about that, so I feel curious to try it. So you're gonna try something new, and if the advice applies or the new food that you tasted is something that you enjoy, that you found helpful, that you found useful, then great. Add it to your new collection of memories. If not, you're at a buffet, walk back around to your favorites and load up on that. You know what I mean? So just kind of enjoy it, take what you can from it, and if it's not useful, then all you need to do is order some of these because summer's around the corner and they're gonna be very useful. All right, the first one from our neighborhood goddess candle maker of the universe, Martha. I know this is anonymous, but I just wanted to hype her up a little because y'all know I love her candle. Look, right there, evidence. She said, can you review the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream? The Magic Cream is like her really famous moisturizer from Charlotte Tilbury. And I tried it. I actually bought the small container of it when it launched in America because I think it was available in Europe first. And to me, it was like glorified cold cream. Like it was not impressive in any way whatsoever, and it smells really strong. And so I was like, I don't get the hype. It reminds me of like Pond's cold cream. The texture, the look, the strong perfume scent. And I was like, can't do it, friends, can't do it. So that's a nope for me. Then we have this one, which I thought was pretty hilarious. If it was socially acceptable, I think I could skip showering for way longer than I'd ever admit. I know who this is, and I know you do it, so stop it. Does anyone else hate to shower? I loathe showering. I do it every day. Like rare occasion where I would skip a day, I'm either sick or something happened like big that I couldn't shower, but I shower every single day. And I just don't look forward to it. I mean, scrubbing this much body, I know I talk about it all the time and everyone thinks I'm 5 feet tall on the internet, but I'm almost 6 feet tall. I'm a massive woman. And it is hard to shower this much body, okay? Ever since your advice, I got rid of a lot of toxic people in my life and I am so much better. This is the kind of stuff I want. This is the kind of stuff I want to creep into my direct messages, into my question box, into, you know, into my tweets or whatever. I want to hear that something that you heard here, something that you learned here made you better, because that to me is, I still can't believe I'm that helpful. And if I feel helpful and if I feel like I made a difference, I don't need credit for it, but it makes me happy to know that someone out there is doing better. It's just the best kind of news. So I'm so happy for you. Oftentimes we get the guilt of, is it okay to get rid of toxic relationships because they're family? And the answer is always yes. It's like a shoe. If a shoe is uncomfortable and it hurts, you don't have to wear that shoe. There are other shoes. And sometimes people don't like wearing shoes and they like to be barefoot, and that's okay too. But we need to get rid of that taboo of we owe ourselves to other people because they're blood. I'm sorry, but you could literally meet someone and in 15 minutes, they could be more blood to you than someone that raised you. So it's very important to allow ourselves to make those choices for ourselves without feeling guilty or caught or trapped. I'm just here to see what drink I need in my life now. Have I steered you wrong though? Let's be honest. Have I steered, y'all, I'm not gonna make it to the 10th question, let me tell you. So have I steered you wrong, Kaylin? Be honest. Be honest. Sorry, I said anonymous. My bad. I didn't mean Kaylin. I meant Caitlin. Getting married in a few weeks, any advice? It sounds to me that if you're seeking advice, at least your self-awareness is there. I am so happy for you. Congratulations. And don't let people in. Don't let noise in. Don't let opinions in. Keep your boat clean, strong, and cover all those holes. Do not let the water get in, because friends and family and coworkers and the person at the grocery store will all have opinions about your marriage. And it doesn't matter what works for you. It doesn't matter if you need a budget for hobbies, and it doesn't matter if you need a schedule for sex, and it doesn't matter if you have date night at Chuck E. Cheese. What matters is that you guys are doing what makes you guys happy as a partnership. Do not listen to anyone's external opinions, because ultimately at the end of the day, when you rest your head on that pillow and you look over, the only other person that's there in that bed with you is your spouse. That is all that matters. How to tell my partner it's time to meet each other's children. We've been dating for 4 years. I'm so glad you said that, 4 years, because I was literally about to tear you a new one. I find that a little bizarre after 4 years. So I'm almost inclined to say, is it the co-parent that doesn't want, is it the co-parent that's involved somehow? There are a lot of divorce decrees or custody agreements that stipulate that children are not allowed to have contact with any of the romantic relationships of the other co-parent. That might be the case. That's rarely the case, because that would be like a really, really strict, almost volatile relationship if you need the decree to be that specific. But that might be something to think about. 4 years seems like a long time to be with somebody and not be talking about sharing your lives together, like in every aspect of the way, whether it's moving in together or meeting each other's kids or getting engaged or buying, a home together. Don't do that unless you're married. But it feels strange. Like there has to be a very big reason, a very big, important reason. I can't imagine someone is that dense that hasn't thought about that. Like, oh, well, all you had to do was ask. I don't think that's the situation here. So try and find out if it's a legal reason, if it's a custody agreement or a divorce decree reason. Try to find out if he's had bad experiences introducing his kids in the past. Maybe do a little digging. Does he have a really toxic, explosive, volatile ex that's going to lose her poop if you guys, introduce the kids? Could there be a potential that maybe your partner struggles with the relationship with his children? Either he has some kind of issues with the relationship with the kids, or maybe one of the children has a disability he hasn't shared with you, and it's a very touchy subject. 4 years is a very long time for you to not get a very important, big reason for it. But after 4 years, I don't see why you couldn't just ask. I feel a little nervous about that, if I'm super transparent with you, because having chemistry with the kids is super important, and I know how difficult it could be to blend a family, especially if the children are problematic or a co-parent is problematic. I don't know. I guess to just simplify my answer, sorry for making it so long. I'm so passionate about you guys. I'm so loyal to you guys that when you send me questions like this, I'm like the pit bull friend that just wants to jump in and be like, can I just have his number? Like, I'll take care of this for you. After 4 years, I don't see why you couldn't just ask him, why haven't we met each other's kids? It's important. I really enjoy the time we've spent together. We've made so many great memories, and I think those memories would just be that much more fulfilling if our kids could be a part of it. But I hope it's for a valid and good reason, just for you, because 4 years is a long time. It's a whole high school career. How do you help someone that is depressed and protect your own sanity? This is a very touchy subject, and it's a very risky question for me to answer, because I am not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. However, I do have a lot of experience about being in close contact with people that suffer from depression. When someone suffers from anxiety or stress, it's easy to show up for them, and it's easy to support them, because usually if we're that close, you know how they feel supported, whether it's affirmation, validation, a hug, quality time, just reminding them that you are there for them, that everything's gonna be okay, that what they're experiencing isn't real. They're in their feelings. And so it's manageable to be able to help someone with stress and anxiety. When it comes to depression, like actual diagnosed depression, usually, unless they undergo some extreme full-on face-to-face therapy, medication needs to be involved, because there is not much we can do when someone's brain is not producing like the connections and the chemicals that they need to maintain normal, rational thoughts. And so having been exposed to that for years and feeling like a failure, like I can't help this person, I can't, but you can't do anything until the person actually realizes they need help. So selfishly, you do have to protect your own sanity. Selfishly, you do have to look out for yourself, because being in a close relationship and close contact with someone that has been diagnosed with depression is absolutely impossible. It's miserable, it's scary, it's sad, it's suffocating, it's debilitating, it's paralyzing, it makes you feel impotent, because it doesn't matter how many confetti cannons and gifts you provide, or how much you support this person, how much you validate this person, how much physical attention you give them, or emotional attention, or words of affirmation. It doesn't matter how you show up for them. If they're not making those connections that their brain needs to make, there is nothing you could do to help that person. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to decide for yourself, is this person going to be willing to hear this from me? Or do I need to look out for myself? Sometimes you aren't given a choice. Sometimes the choice is made for you and you just got to back out. So I hope that it's a relationship that is receptive to your help, your support, your advice, your sharing. And I hope that for your own sake, it's something that gives you answers soon, because it can be very isolating and very scary to be that close to someone that isn't getting help for themselves. Also, being very familiar with having close contact with people that suffer from depression, it's something that has to be a choice, a personal choice, and requires a lot of work. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And there's always going to be little dark cloud moments. It's not always going to be like, oh, here's this magic pill, you take it and you're fine. No, it's a journey. It is a lifelong journey. So I hope that God grants you the patience and the grace to go through this journey if it's something that you're choosing for yourself. Otherwise, then I don't know. Sometimes it's okay to be okay with walking away. We weren't born to be martyrs. You know what I mean? I know that sounds cruel and it sounds awful, but it's just, we can only give so much, and then it gets to the point where it's like, I can't do anything else because this is hurting my own mental health. So I hope that helps a little bit. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but buy everything in your Amazon shopping cart. Is she the right person for this kind of channel? Yes, she is. What did you do to help cope while waiting for Parker's biopsy? We are waiting now. Go to his appointments, remind him about his appointments, remind him to wear sunscreen. Don't focus too much on the doom and gloom aspect or the worst case scenario. So it's tricky. I think in any scenario, no matter what the news is, no matter what the diagnosis is showing your partner that you are there regardless. No matter what the outcome is, no matter what the diagnosis is, no matter what happens, no matter what it takes, no matter what it means, that nothing that comes out of a doctor's mouth is something that is ever going to separate the two of you. It's going to bring you closer together. Isn't that literally like the first vow we make in sickness and in health? It's what we signed up for. This one actually resonates with me because it's very relatable when you're blending a family and your significant other is a dad of girls. The question is, how can you tell your significant other that his 9-year-old daughter isn't showering correctly? I've mentioned it before. You don't. I don't think it's any of our business, and I learned that the hard way. They shouldn't do this, they shouldn't wear this, they shouldn't eat this, they shouldn't do this. I think when your partner lets you know what your role is, believe him. When your partner gently lets you know that what you're saying isn't important to him about his kids, believe him. When you share something about your partner's kids to your partner and he doesn't do anything about it, believe him. At the end of the day, it's their children and they are allowed to decide those things for them. And I know for you, it's probably well, I want to save her from the embarrassment, or I want to save her from the discomfort, or I want to, she's stinky a little bit. And you know, it's always coming from a good place. At least from my position, it always came from a good place. But ultimately, just to barbarically minimize the situation, she's not your kid. And our partners are very clear when they tell us to stay in our lane. When they don't do anything about what we tell them, that means mind your business. It's not important to me. And so when you're thinking about blending a family and the ways that you think you could help, I think oftentimes we give ourselves a bigger role than we actually have in these children's lives. And I think oftentimes we overstep with the mindset of trying to be helpful, but it's not. And I also think that when we are the proactive parent that points out the things that could be better, or the things that are inappropriate, or the things that are dangerous, we're the proactive parent and the other parent is the chill parent. But when it doesn't line up and they're not your own kids, then you gotta be the chill parent, because it's ultimately none of our business. I think what's important to the proactive parent or the helicopter parent is always so much more, there's so much more of it than for like the chill, relax, be yourself parent. I'll never align with that parenting style because I don't believe in it. I wasn't raised that way, but I'm also not trying to raise my kids the way my parents raised us. For me, it's a combo style of parenting. My parents were strict, had rules, had expectations. We had jobs in our house. We had chores and things to do. And I choose that for my kids. When it comes to parenting and discipline, I do it as well, and I'm very proactive, but it's never in shame. I don't use love as currency. You know, you don't have to earn affection. And so I think it's important to find your own parenting style, but ultimately that's never going to be your bonus daughter's parenting style, because that's not your baby. And I know it's so hard and crippling and suffocating, but they're not your kid, you know? And sometimes you just have to like grind your teeth really hard, take some Tylenol for that headache because you're biting back your words, and go for a walk, or have some Juneshine, because they're not your kids. You're like, they're not my kids, they're not my kids, they're not my kids. And I'm sure the mom, if she cared about it, would have said something too. You know what I mean? So anyway, those are my 2 cents. If it makes you feel any better, it gives me comfort knowing they're not my kids. They're not my kids. I'm giving myself a bigger role than they're choosing to give me, so it's okay for me to step back a little bit. Stay in my lane and mind my business. You sleep a lot more peaceful at night, let me tell you. Sweet Moses of my life. In-laws told my kids about my husband's first marriage and child. Wasn't a secret, it was just not time yet. My oldest had her whole world rocked. Hubs shut down. I dealt with fallout alone. I'm kind of ragey about it. Oh gosh, I have so many thoughts about this, but I can't really share them all transparently because of family and personal secrets. Well, not my personal secrets. Secrets that aren't mine to share. I understand why you're upset. And I probably would be too if I had your mindset. If I had your mindset of now is not the time, this isn't how we do it, this isn't how it's gonna get handled, this isn't what we're gonna do, and you and your partner had agreed on a set timeline on how you were planning on divulging this important, very important information, it wasn't their place. Did you communicate that to your family where you said these are our expectations and this is something that is ours to share and we haven't shared it? I have experience with adoption in my family, in my teaching career, with a lot of parents that have adopted children. And out of the 15 or 20 couples that have adopted kids, I would say 90% of them told their kids they were adopted from the minute they started to speak and understand language. And so I never understood it because I was like, adoption is adoption. That baby's yours. It doesn't matter if you carried the baby in utero or not. That baby is yours and you don't need to tell them that. And as I came into contact with more and more of these couples that adopted a child and hearing their rationalization about why they were telling their kids, it reminds me of this share that you're telling me is it's too late to focus on we probably should have told them sooner. And that's probably terrible advice, but it's something that the child has a right to know, and they have a right to grow with that information, and they have a right to decide how they feel about it. They don't, however, deserve to be bombed with information like that, and they don't deserve to have their world turned upside down because of a decision that was made in a moment that felt right. And they don't deserve to have that information shared from someone that isn't the two most important people in their life, which is their parents, you know? And so I am unbelievably upset for you because that is such a violation. And I could understand how that would cause so much stress in your relationship with your in-laws moving forward. But at the same time, I think it's a great opportunity to have an open communication with their children about how, as parents, we sometimes make choices that we think are the right ones to protect them and to keep them safe and happy and healthy. But ultimately, as humans, we make mistakes. You know, I don't remember what happened the other day, but I apologized to Mateo. I said, you know what, buddy? I am so sorry. Mommy made a huge mistake. You didn't deserve that. I think Daniel did something and I thought it was Mateo, and I just automatically chewed his head off. And he said, you're apologizing to me? And I was like, yeah. He's like, grown-ups didn't apologize to kids. And I was like, everyone apologizes to everyone when we make a mistake. And I made a big mistake, and I want you to forgive me because it was never my intention to make you feel yucky. And so I think this might be a really good opportunity. Take your time. Let me get this out of the way. Take your time. Be pissed at your in-laws because that wasn't their place. That was awful. That was rude. That was inconsiderate. I can't even describe it without getting emotional for you. But at the same time, you could use this and just look at the silver lining, or extract the positive, where you could turn this into a teaching moment and tell your kids, you know what, maybe we made a mistake. Seeing as how visceral your reaction was, we probably should have prepared you better, and we probably should have told you sooner, and we probably should have trusted you with this information, and we made a mistake. But now that we're here and you know that it was a decision made out of love, how can we make this better? How can we talk about this as a family? How could we move forward from this? And instead of thinking of it as like a yucky memory, how can we think about it as something positive, progressive, something that's helping our family? Because the other thing that we should consider here is the other child. How do these children not know about the other child? And maybe it's an adult child, you know, like an adult son or daughter, but maybe it's not. And maybe they want to know their siblings. And so it's a hard, sticky, dirty, messy conversation stage in life. But I think that if handled in a graceful, loving, kind, and apologetic way, it could be a really good thing. You know, the Band-Aid's off. How are we gonna fix this? The Band-Aid's been ripped off now, and of course that wasn't your choice, but now that it is, and the power's in your hands, how do we want to handle it? You know, like the work starts now. But yeah, I'm sorry that happened. That is just unspeakably inappropriate. And can I have your mother-in-law's phone number, please? I got this question a ton, and for me, I didn't do a very good job about it, but I got it a million different ways from different people, written differently. But it was basically along the lines of, how do I rekindle the spark in our marriage? We have a newborn, or we just had a baby, or it's been 6 months and it's just miserable. Of all the people that I know, in public or not, and friends, family, I think one of the hardest periods in a marriage is after a baby. The times that your marriage gets tried the most is after a baby. The times that you have the biggest lull or disagreements or frustration or petty fights is after a baby. And while a baby is something that brings so much joy, happiness, and purpose, it changes your life completely. So For me, what helped a lot was a perspective change. Is I'm a mom now. You know, I'm not just a wife. I can't just pick up and go wherever I want. I can't just leave him there and go to the restaurant or go to the mall. I have this permanent barnacle attached to me for the rest of my life. And while you could see it as negative, or you could see it as positive, or you could see it as a blessing, or you could see it as a ball and chain, the fact is the fact is the fact. And it doesn't change the fact that there is a baby now. So as much as you don't want strangers to touch your baby, as much as you don't want strangers to hold your baby, as much as you don't want to put your baby with your in-laws to take care of, as much as you don't want to call your sister to watch the baby for a few hours, as much as you don't want to have 3 seconds alone from your baby because you think the worst of the worst of the worst is going to happen to your baby, trust me when I say they are not going to remember that you left them for 2 or 3 hours to go on a date with your husband. Think about why you married your husband. Think about the good qualities that you found in your husband. Think about what makes you smile about your husband. Think about the things that you did before the baby came, before you got pregnant, before none of your clothes fit. The stuff that you actually looked forward to is stuff that you can still continue to look forward to with a little bit of a help from a babysitter, a mom, a sister-in-law, I don't know, your cousin, a nanny. I think as a mom, and I'm totally throwing us under the bus, I think as a first-time mom, we make the big mistake of thinking that our baby is made of glass. Yeah, they scare the out of us at the pediatrician's office with SIDS and with the little owl attachment thing to the foot and sleeping them on their tummies. All of my kids slept on their stomach and they're fine. And so they scare the Jesus out of us when it comes to being a first-time mom. And the last thing we want to do is even shower alone. So I can imagine why just focusing on your husband is stressful or is not a priority for you. The other thing that I'm thinking about is I think having the conversation with your husband of a lot of things have changed for me. I don't feel pretty. I feel gross. I feel fat. I'm wearing a diaper. I don't think you look at me the same way again. I feel like a cow. I'm just milking all day. You know, I think we have a lot of feelings as a first-time mom that we don't share with out loud because they feel silly. But regardless of what you're thinking, our partner is allowed to hear those things and allowed to support us and to know where we are mentally and emotionally. And having that transparency of, I didn't realize how unglamorous being a mom was, and I'm just scared that we aren't in the same place again, is very important to bringing that connection close. Anytime that Parker and I have a rift or we grow apart, whether it's because we're blending a family or because the passing of a family or loved one, or because I'm stressed out with my own children or with work, the times that we instantly get back together and just that close that rift is when we're vulnerable with each other. When I'll literally tell him, I said, you know, I got a biopsy. I had an endometrial biopsy. They pierced my cervix. I've been bleeding for a week. I feel violated. I wasn't given the right information, and given my history with assault, I felt betrayed by my gynecologist. I wasn't given the right information. You know, from the minute I got there, they were an hour late. They didn't tell me to take medicine for pain beforehand. You know, they didn't tell me it was gonna hurt as much. They didn't tell me how it was gonna feel, and they made a mistake while they were there. And so when I just flat out just bare my soul to him, he's like, boom, flips the switch, we're back on track. We have to remove that taboo of sharing, oversharing, and being vulnerable with our partner. They're not allowed to say whether or not the fear and the burden and the trauma that we carry is big or heavy or significant, but they are allowed to support us in it. And so be vulnerable with your husband. Say, you know what, we just had a baby and I hate the diaper, or I hate breastfeeding, or I love breastfeeding and I don't want to be apart from my baby. And how do you feel about going on date night with our baby? How do you feel about going on date night without our baby? You know, like, put it all on the table. And I guarantee that if that is your mate and your partner and your soulmate, that he's going to understand. And I think that whole like rocky newborn phase will be a little bit easier. It's not going to be easy, but it will be easier. And tell me, I know everyone says this, and I know it sounds cliche or like kicking a dead horse, But you're not gonna remember the newborn days. You're not gonna remember the sleepless nights. You're not gonna remember how hard it was. Right now it feels like you're in the thick of it, but it literally happens in seconds and then it falls out of your brain. And all you remember is the cute fatty feet and, you know, the puffy pink tummies and the smell of like their little coconuts or their neck. And so God has an interesting way of protecting us from memories that were hard and memories that were special and memories that were important. And we kind of rewrite the narrative and just choose what helps us remember the happy and the fluff and the beautiful and the lessons that we learned from that moment in time. This one's really special to me. It hurt my feelings for you, and I wanted to make it a point to talk about it. I don't like these videos to turn into like when I was divorced and dating, because I feel in some ways it's a little bit disrespectful to the relationship I have now because I feel so blessed to have it. But as a woman and as an independent woman and as a successful woman and as a strong woman, I think it's important to remind you guys that are still trying to find your way that it gets better, and that if it doesn't feel that way now, it's because you're not meeting the right people. But you will. You just have to be patient. Timing is everything. And I know that's just a band-aid and it doesn't make you feel better, but I promise you it does. She says, how can I not let the fear of rejection stop me from online dating as a plus size female? I have gotten rejected for how loud my laugh is. I have been rejected because I have children and I'm divorced, as opposed to, you know, staying single for, you know, ever until I met this other person. I have been rejected because I'm Mexican, but I don't look Mexican, and I should have disclosed that I was Mexican. I've gotten rejected because I don't like to have long Salma Hayek hair, because I like to have short hair. I have been rejected because my boobs were fake. I've been rejected because my butt wasn't big enough. And I would say that the times that I have been the most rejected, aside from being so tall, is because my personality was too much. And so I'm gonna say to you what I say to my children. If someone wants to tease you, they don't need content. They will find something to tease you about, and they will find a reason why they don't choose you. Whether it's because you're tall, because you're skinny, because your teeth are too big, because your hair is too curly, because you have too many freckles, because you wear glasses, because you're left-handed. It does not matter to anybody what you look like, who you are, how you smell, what you like, what your choices are. The wrong person will find all those flaws because you're not the perfect match for them. But the right person will choose you because of all those things that everyone else passed you up on. And so don't minimize yourself or your value based on what you look like, because as people, we are so much more than that. We are friends, we are sisters, we are cousins, we're best friends, we're supporters, we're nurses, we're teachers. There's so much more value to us than what you see to the naked eye. And so you can't minimize yourself to how you look or feel physically, because that won't matter to the right person. Fear of rejection is something that is very difficult to accept, to swallow, to get over, because that is something that's internal. So if you think that your fear of rejection is crippling to the point where you can't function or you don't think you will find someone, like it's the end all be all, like fear of rejection, that just stops me in my tracks, I won't leave the house, then I would suggest talk to someone, a professional someone, because usually that comes from experiences that we had as a child, like when I was bullied. And it took me years to accept. And then come to find out that along with my adult ADHD diagnosis, I also have RSD, which is rejection sensitivity syndrome. So having a grasp or an understanding as to how your wiring is, how you were programmed as a child, the memories that made you who you are, helps a lot. But if it's something like, oh, I feel like I might get rejected because I'm plus size, it's just like just right before you jump in a pool, that just little bit of like jitterbugs or butterflies, then it's no big deal. Because trust me, I've gotten rejected more times than accepted. In fact, if I had to grotesquely summarize it, I would say I have been rejected 90% of my life versus the 10% that I got accepted. And so it's one of those things where if you're just not the right match for someone, they're always going to find what's wrong with you. And if you are not the right match for someone, they're always going to point out the things that don't fit into their idea of a perfect partner. And it's something that is life. There's always going to be something that people can pick out as a flaw for you. But if you don't see it as a flaw yourself, and you don't think that there is anything wrong with the way you are, then you just have to be patient. I know that's hard. Being a single woman is so hard, especially when you don't want to be a single woman. But use this time productively to make yourself better, to get to know yourself better, to date yourself, to get yourself to a point where you're like, you're lost, mother. You know what I mean? Get yourself to a point where you're happy with being who you are, how you are, and eventually the right person will fill in your little puzzle piece and fit perfectly into it. And honestly, if I am brutally honest, I had to cut Parker's puzzle piece to fit into my puzzle, you know, because there is no perfect puzzle. There has to be compromises, and there has to be things that you change, that you accept, that you understand, that you validate, that just simply are the way they are. But to say that there is that like perfect piece, like your media naranja, like the other half of your orange, I don't think so. And I think we have more than one soulmate. So don't lose your patience. Just be patient and work on yourself. And before you least expect it, someone shows up in our life that really, really fits in with what we're about and accepts us for who we are, and actually likes that we snort when we laugh, believe it or not. Loves us when we're dirty and smelly and haven't showered and haven't worn makeup. Loves us through depression and through trauma, and accepts us for who we are. But I think ultimately finding a person that accepts us for who we are, that person shows up after we accept ourselves for who we are. So that's a big pill to swallow. I bet you don't like that dish at this buffet. Okay, we gotta wrap this up, y'all. My husband wants kids, but I 100% don't. We're both 33, married for almost 6 years. Why are you wasting this man's life? Why are you wasting this man's life? You knew you didn't want kids. Or did something happen that changed your mind? It is 100% unacceptable to keep someone in a marriage that wants children and you don't. And I know you don't want to hear it this way. You're probably gonna unsubscribe and you're gonna hate me, and maybe you're gonna join like those gossip blogs and talk about me on Reddit, and that's okay. But that's you talk about before you get married. So maybe something changed, or maybe you were really young when you got married and didn't think it was an important conversation to have. But at 33 years old, this man and you can recreate your lives, your chapter 2s, in such a glorious, magnificent, fulfilling way without feeling like you're missing out on life. 33 is still really young, and I'm not encouraging divorce. I'm not encouraging failing marriages. I'm not encouraging you leaving this man. What I am encouraging is you to support the goals that this man has, as well as him supporting yours. I don't care how much love there is in this world. If someone wants a family, they're gonna get it. So that's a big, you know what? I'm gonna ask you guys watching this video, how would you advise our panda to figure this out? I mean, it doesn't say she's asking for advice. It doesn't say she's asking for help. I think it might be a secret confession, but ultimately I would hate to feel like I stole the best years of someone's life. And I feel that way about my first marriage sometimes, but then I look at my sons and I'm like, that's the best part of my life. So while I feel like maybe someone stole 10 years of my life, like the best, most glorious, fruitful years of my life, and while I feel angry sometimes, rarely, like that moment has almost passed, but there are some times where I'm like, man, you got the best years of my life. Then I look at my kids and I'm like, no, he gave me the best thing about my life. So there's always that, I don't even know, I want to say consolation prize, but I don't mean that, because it's not a consolation prize. It's like winning the lottery, you know? So I don't know, I maybe you didn't want advice and now you hate me, but that question was incendiary. Last question, you guys. This one is so good, super good. I want to answer it. I want to cover it because I feel like I could do a really good job answering it. How do you deal with sudden trauma from past relationships coming up in the new one? I don't think you mean sudden trauma. I think you mean how do you deal with trauma coming up suddenly in a new relationship from a past relationship? Is that, I really hope that's what you mean. So like, for example, me, how do I deal with trauma, like reminders of my previous trauma before I met Parker in my relationship with Parker now, right? And so you definitely, if you've suffered trauma, it always makes sense to get help for it. A therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist. Trauma doesn't just go away. We do a really good job at coping with it, and we do a really good job at dealing with it and hiding it or learning to exist with it. But without professional help or really accepting what happened, it's very hard to heal from it. The healing process is the most important. When I have moments, like I just told you guys about the biopsy, for me that was a trigger because it reminded me of my assault. And not physically, it wasn't the physical abuse or penetration, it was the betrayal. Like I didn't get the right information, so I went in blind and the experience wasn't what I imagined. And so with my assault, it was, I trusted these people and then the outcome was really awful. When you have a moment of regression or a reminder or a trigger of previous trauma, it should never come to a surprise to your partner, because if that is your partner, they should know about it. They should be able to support you through it. As a partner, I do believe in having privacy and having our own secrets, but a secret like trauma can ruin your relationship. It could crash and burn and completely tear it down to the point where it's irreparable. You can't fix it. So there are certain secrets that you can keep from your partner, like, I don't know, I set $200 aside every month because I'm saving for a vacation, or my dream Louis Vuitton, you know? But a secret like I was assaulted, or I was abused, or my dad was abusive, or I'm a recovering alcoholic, or my mom was an alcoholic, or I had an abortion when I was 15. You know, if it's trauma, something like that, the weight is so much lighter when you have someone to share it with. And not because it's their burden to carry now, but because you're giving them the gift and the opportunity to love you through it and support you with it. While it took me years, I still haven't told my parents, and I know they don't watch my content because I talk too fast in English, and they don't watch my content. I still haven't told any of my friends or family what happened in college to me. And it took me years to get to a place where I could talk about it. And I could talk about it because it wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could have done to prevent it. I am not dumb. I am not a whore like we're raised to believe if something like that happens. It wasn't because of what I was wearing. And it's one of those things that when I told Parker about, I still felt shame over sharing it. And when I felt that shame, telling someone that I loved so much, I knew I need help for this. I'm not as good about this as I thought I was. You know, I'm not as healthy about this. I'm not in a great place about this. Like, I still need to heal from this a little bit. And you guys know, healing isn't linear. You don't just heal and then boom, it's done. Healing is like this, and then you go back, and then you come back, and then it swirls again, and then you do a loop-de-loop, and then, you know, healing is complicated. But I never made as much progress until I had a partner to talk about it with. I hadn't made as much progress until I was able to share it openly with someone. I hadn't told you guys about it until I met Parker. And so that alone, as an example, I could have been such a big help to women 8 years ago saying, hey, I was raped in college. But I wasn't ready. And I wasn't ready because I hadn't gotten to a point where I felt healed with the topic. And so how do I not let trauma from the past interfere with my present relationship? I don't get to control that. But what I can control is allowing my partner to be a part of that trauma with me. And what I mean by that is allowing your partner to have insight about what happened, how it made you feel, and how it still affects you to present day. I will have 364 good days, and then I have that 365th day where something goes wrong at the gynecologist, or a man at Home Depot walks behind me and like grinds against me, and all I'm trying to do is get a minion inflatable, and I'm done for the day. I'm destroyed. I can't keep that from Parker. I can't let him come home from work and I'm a mess and I'm like, don't touch me. That's not fair. When you allow someone to help you carry the weight, and when you allow someone to learn the language of your heart and your brain, and when you allow someone to understand how you were programmed, your wiring as a baby, it brings you guys so much closer together. So I don't have advice on helping you put a lid on it. I don't have advice on helping you how to prevent that from causing problems. The only advice I can give you is be comfortable in your transparency so that when it does hit you, your partner can help you with it. Because healing takes a lifetime sometimes. And sometimes it never goes away. But it stops showing up as often. And even if it doesn't, it shows up in ways that aren't as suffocating anymore, and that you have the virtue and the blessing of having someone to support you. You don't have to keep a secret anymore, because that's why we get a partner, you know, so that we don't have to carry this stuff on our own. So one, I would say, I'm sorry, I don't have better advice. 2, let your partner in and let them help. And 3, I don't think our partners are mind readers. So when something gets triggered, or something happens, or something terrible happens, or a reminder happens, or something scars us, or something triggers us, or something suddenly shows up, it's not fair to blindside our partner. But it is fair to expect them to be a partner and to support us. I hate the word expectation because it's a heavy one and it's loaded. They can't read our mind, but we should be able to count on them to support us. You know, we should be able to count on them to help us carry the weight and to love us through it. Oftentimes with trauma, we feel unloved, or we feel like we deserved it, or we feel like somehow we made it happen. And with a partner, it's a great reminder to understand, believe, and accept what we unlearn, which is, it's not our fault. We didn't deserve for it to happen. We can rewrite the story, and I don't have to become my trauma. Trauma is a part of who I am, but I am not traumatized. And so let him help. If that's a good partner, he's going to be eager to help and understand. And when something happens that shows up in your present relationship, it'll be so much easier for him to understand it, accept it, and navigate through it. Navigate through it with you if you want him to help. And I think you do. I know that's a heavy subject, and I know it's a hard topic to talk about, but with the present day and so many people going through low-grade trauma with the pandemic and working from home and suffering from depression because we never go outside, our responsibilities have changed, you know, kids being at home learning, you know, cyberly or digitally without the social interaction. As a human race, we're suffering a lot right now. And if there is ever a time to talk about it openly, the time is now. So I really hope that in some ways my oversharing is useful and maybe sparks a little idea or help or suggestion or plants a seed somehow in your brain or your heart, and you take something from it. Like I told you guys at the beginning of this video, and maybe it's just because I'm hungry, but these videos are like a buffet. You pick and choose what you want. You have your favorites. You have the ones that you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Maybe you don't have a stepdaughter. You aren't a blended family and it doesn't apply to you. But humanity applies to you. Feelings apply to you. Being kind applies to you. So there's always something that you can take from this little Dani buffet. So I hope that you were able to find something useful. At the very least, You know where I'm going with this. At the very least, what I did as a friend was I introduced you to an amazing canned cocktail. Yeah, the word can makes it not sound as uppity and fancy, but let me tell you, they taste uppity and fancy. So if you guys are fans of Mai Tais, if you're fans of vodka sodas, or if you're fans of margaritas, something that is maybe not as full of sugar, but it uses premium spirits and natural fruit juices and are low in sugar. Y'all, the last thing I need in my life is more sugar. I literally just decluttered all my jeans and I went from 6s to 8s. They just didn't fit anymore. And I was like, I'm tired of being uncomfortable. I like the way I look. I just don't like how my clothes feels. And so sometimes you just have to do that. You know, you just have to erase and start all over. And if that means whether it's a friendship, a marriage, a relationship, or your wardrobe, you have my full support. So anyway, all the information on Juneshine will be listed in the description box below. 10% off their spirits, free shipping over $75, and they do ship nationwide. This is what we're here for. We're here for this, we're here for this, and I'm here for you. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Like any and all my videos, anything that you saw, anything that I'm wearing, anything that's on my lips, even though I probably ate all of it, will all be listed and linked in the description box of this video, along with the other 8 of these videos that we've done together. I'm curious to go back and watch those videos to see if I would give the same advice, but I don't watch any of my old content. It's a rule I have. I'm very weird, I'm very awkward, and I'm still wondering why some of you have been here for so long. But if you have, y'all know the drill. I love you so much, and you know what to do. If you found this video useful, entertaining, and learned something, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, this coffee break is over. Bye guys, cheers.